gentlemen, a very warm welcome to you all from Open Stage. Thank you for sharing your quality time to join us today for the performance of the Masrayana. Please allow us to give a brief introduction about Open Stage. Open Stage is a registered not-for-profit organization formed by senior working professionals in Singapore who find time from their busy schedules to stoke their passion for quality English theatre. The principles that guide Open Stage include the following: to uphold a high standard of theatrical production, showcasing local talents, to promote work-life balance and voluntary work, to reach out to a broad-based group in terms of participation and audience, to actively promote integration through a multi-ethnic cast and crew, and to collaborate with like-minded institutions. As a result, we hope we can enhance Singapore's image as a wonderful place to work, live, and play. Founded in the fourth quarter of 2007, Open Stage has staged classics in the last 2 years. In 2008, Open Stage performed The Verdict, a gripping courtroom drama, which was adapted from Reginald Rose's 12 Angry Men. In 2009, Open Stage enacted Henrik Ibsen's An Enemy of the People. This year, we are delighted to present a new play, The Masrayana, which won the Joseph Jefferson Award as Best New Play 2005-2006. The Masrayana is written by William Kovacic, an American playwright who teaches dramatic writing at the New York University Tisch School of the Arts, Asia, Singapore. The Masrayana, based on true events, is a saga, which is Yana in Sanskrit, about Masraj, whose relatives bribed local officials to have him declared dead in order to inherit his land. The play is directed by Nicole Stinton, a noted Australian theatre artist. Nicole is associated with the LaSalle College of the Arts, and she is the festival director of Short and Sweet Festival Singapore. Nicole is ably assisted in choreography and costume design by the noted choreographer and social sciences professional, Swati Mukherjee. The original music has been composed and will be performed live on stage by Mr. S.M. Anand, the noted sitar teacher from the Temple of Fine Arts, Singapore. And working diligently in the background is a core team from Open Stage who have made this production a reality. Continuing with the noble tradition that the founders started during our debut production, The Verdict, the cast of the Masrayana is multi-ethnic, showcasing integration at work. We are grateful to Lee Foundation and PSA who have been supporting the development of Open Stage over the years. We would like to thank National Integration Council and the Tote Board for their support this year. We would also like to thank Standard Chartered Bank Recreation Club, PwC, HCL, the IIT Alumni Association, Prudential, C Consortium, and Ivory Kitchen for making block purchases of tickets, and all of you in the audience who have been supporting us wholeheartedly over the years. Without your support, it would not be possible to make this production happen. We hope our performance will touch your hearts, and we look forward to your valued support in the future. This will help us to keep our initiative alive. Do remember to switch your mobile phones to silent mode. The 2-hour play will be performed in 2 acts with a 15-minute intermission. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy the Masrayana.
Justice! Such an elusive thing. It is a lawyer's job to tell stories in court. But sometimes They only concern themselves with who wins the case and who loses. Some lawyers, however, the unlucky ones, tell stories with the hope that justice might be done. These are the ones cursed with a conscience. I say cursed because to be obsessed with justice is most often a losing proposition. Trust me, I know. We are the ones wearing threadbare suits, with wives nagging us about money, and creditors breathing down our backs. Sometimes, however, we find a good story to tell, and the search for justice pays off. And at those times, as we stand on the highs, all the years we have spent wandering through the valleys seem less important. Several years ago, I had the occasion to tell a particularly remarkable story, a true story, about a man named
Gopal Masrayana,
who was a farmer working with the 1 hectare plot land left to him by his late father. Gopal had been blessed with a beautiful wife.
Navi, hello.
Together, they labored hard to make the farm profitable.
I work hard, but it's a good life.
Through the blessings of the gods, they succeeded.
I have been blessed, richly blessed.
But of course, even a blessed life has its problems. Gopal had a younger brother.
Kana,
Even the most charitable observer among you would have called Kana lazy and good for nothing.
Kana, come over here and say hello to all these good people.
Do it yourself.
Still, it's a very good life.
Mr. Master had no idea how his life is about to change, and the various twists and turns that will eventually bring him to my door. Perhaps watching his journey might prove illuminating for you, as it did for me. Prologue, in which Mr. Masra, on his way to the village of Bisguti, stops at the crossroads to talk to the policeman's dog, who always waits for his master at that spot.
Moti, sit. Sit. Good boy. Are you waiting for the constable? He'll bring you your dinner, don't you worry. You want to lick my ear? Go ahead, I won't stop you. Look at you. Nothing to worry about except dinner and your master who loves you as if you were his child. I wish we could have it that easy. All right, I have to get into town to see Mr. Nero. No, I can't stay. You stay. Stay? Good boy.
Scene 1, in which Mr. Masra takes tea with his friend Bhagavan Nera, the Lekpal, village clerk. How's the farm?
The farm is fine.
The crops will be good.
If the gods smile, the crops will thrive.
And your wife?
And now he is, well...
Something is wrong.
No. I must go to the bank tomorrow.
You need a loan.
Yes. My neighbor is selling half a hectare. It's time to expand.
Expansion. You are fortunate.
Yes. I must go to the bank in Damalabad.
A long journey.
Yes.
Still, if you can expand your holdings when everyone else is seeing their land divided into smaller and smaller plots, with every generation, every inheritance.
Yes, I'm a lucky man.
So why do you look so troubled?
How can I say?
All things have their origins, their beginnings.
It's my brother.
Kanal is sick.
That depends.
Depends on what?
How one defines an illness.
Ah,
Examination of his body would find nothing wrong.
and yet
It's his spirit.
that's more difficult.
Since we were young, Kanal and I, we've never been at ease with each other.
Do you know why?
I was always my father's favorite.
You were the eldest. It's natural.
Kanal never seemed to understand that.
Only time makes souls grow.
I'm afraid time may be against me.
In what way?
Bhagwan, I shouldn't be saying anything. As it is even mentioning it, I may not sleep tonight. But the truth is, I fear him.
Your brother?
Yes. He has desperation in his eyes. I don't know what he means to do.
You think he means to harm you? This is shameful.
But I can't be certain.
You were certain enough to speak of it.
Yes, but
Surely he wouldn't.
I've always loved him, even when...
Even when it was not easy to do so.
Yes.
Perhaps it would be best to
wait?
perhaps to see how things turn out.
You may be right.
It would be good to be absolutely certain.
Before doing anything rash.
Indeed.
Thank you, Bhagwan. Your advice means a great deal to me.
Good luck in Kamalabad.
We will take tea again next week.
At the usual time.
Goodbye.
Scene 2, in which Gopal Masra journeys to Thamalabad to apply for a bank loan. What Mr. Masra does not know, what he could have no way of knowing, is that while he was sweating it out in a third-class rail car, taking almost 18 hours to make the trip to Thamalabad, a meeting was taking place. Words pass, money is exchanged, and a deal is made. Kanal goes to Laudabad, the only person in Biscuity with an automobile. All money changes hands. Laudabad will drive faster than might ordinarily be possible in order to ensure that she arrives in Thamalabad before Mr. Masra. And she will go to see the bank officer. Money will be exchanged for the third time. Laudabad will manage to leave the bank just before Master Masra will arrive.
Mr. Masra,
Yes.
you applied for a loan.
Yes.
The application form has been filled out.
Yes.
Collateral has been pledged.
Yes.
Very good. We will of course need a proof of identity.
Of course.
We need to make sure you are who you say you are.
Naturally.
We couldn't go and give money to someone who wasn't whom we thought he was.
I understand. Here's my identity card.
Very good. I must check the district records.
Certainly.
Just a moment.
Mr. Masra waits for the bank officer to return. He continues to wait. And when all other options have been exhausted, well, he waits still longer.
Is everything all right?
You seem to have a problem.
And what is it?
It's a situation I've never encountered before.
Is there some problem with the collateral?
In a manner of speaking,
It's worth every penny I save it.
I don't doubt that.
Then what is it?
Dead people can't pledge collateral.
Excuse me?
You can't give loans to the dead.
But I'm not dead.
According to the local records in Bisgruti, you are.
I am what?
Dead?
That can't be.
Look here. Here's the signature of the local Lekpal Bhagwan Nera certifying that one Gopal Masra is deceased.
But Bhagwan Nera knows me. I had tea with him 2 days ago. He'll tell you.
But he signed the papers. It's all quite official.
This is ridiculous. Everyone in Bisgoti knows me. They'll tell you.
But the local Lekpal, Mr. Nera?
He'll tell you. He'll be the first to tell you.
But he already has. Here's his signature.
This is some kind of a mistake.
This Mr. Nera. He knows you?
He's known me since we were children.
Then how can it be a mistake?
Excuse me?
If a man who's known you since childhood says you're dead, how can I disagree?
It's a mistake.
Perhaps, but I have no way of knowing.
Please.
Sir, if you are Gopal Masra, and if you're not dead, surely it will be no problem for you to go back home to Bisgruti and clear this all up. Once you've done that, come back, and we'll be happy to complete this transaction. Here, I made a copy of the death certificate. I'm sure it will take you only a few days to correct whatever mistake has been made.
But my neighbor, he's selling the land. If I don't get the loan, he'll sell it to someone else.
I'm sorry.
There must be something you can do.
I'm really terribly sorry.
Please, you must.
Mr. Whoever you really are, you must understand. There are rules, there are forms and procedures. I simply can't ignore them, else I'll lose my job.
All right then, but give me back my identity card.
I destroyed it.
What?
The provincial law is quite clear. I cannot give an identity card back to someone for whom a death certificate has been issued.
But that's my card.
There's nothing to be done about it. Once you establish you're alive, you can get a new one.
You can't.
A good day, mister. Well, good day.
This is outrageous.
I said good day, sir.
Scene 3, in which Mr. Masra confronts his tormentors.
You're back.
Was it a successful journey?
You've no idea what happened to me.
Not until you tell me.
They told me I was dead.
Ah,
Can you imagine such a thing?
it is difficult to conceive.
They even showed me a death certificate, and it had your signature on it.
You're not serious?
Here. Look.
Remarkable.
I tried to explain. I told the woman at the bank that it's obviously just some kind of a mistake, but she wouldn't listen. No offense, but you know how these bureaucrats can be.
Yes, these bureaucrats can be a nuisance. No doubt about that.
Anyway, I told them I'd have it sorted out in no time. So, what do we do?
Excuse me.
Well, it's obviously just some silly blunder, but we do have to set this straight.
I can certainly understand your desire to do so.
So, what would you advise?
Advice?
Yes.
Well, it is a little awkward.
Awkward.
Well, yes.
How? How is it awkward? All we have to do is tell them that I'm alive.
It is awkward because Everything seems to be in order.
But it's clearly not in order.
Look at it. Do you see this? This is my signature.
Of course, a mistake.
But it certainly looks like my signature. In fact, if I were asked in court whether this was indeed my signature, I'll have to say...
There can't be.
Except that...
There can be no exceptions, Bhagwan. The only way that could be your signature is if you saw me dead. You see me standing here.
But
You know
you-
I'm not dead.
But this is my signature. And you can see my official stamp is right here on this document. You look for yourself.
Bhagwan,
It's a mystery.
there is no mystery. Open your eyes, Bhagwan. It's me. Fix this. Fix this now.
I wish it were that simple.
What are you saying?
I'm not saying anything.
I don't understand.
I'm terribly sorry.
That's not good enough. Saying you're sorry doesn't help me at all. Do you know they took my identity card? It's as if I don't exist. But you have to do something.
If you want anything done, you have to see your brother.
What?
See your brother.
What is this? What's going on?
I have to go back to my office.
What's going on here?
To talk to your brother.
And so Mr. Masra went home to the farm that his family had worked for generations. There, he found his brother.
What is this? What is going on?
It must be wind.
Kana!
I could swear I heard my brother's voice.
Kana!
But sadly, it's not possible as he has met his demise.
What is going
Oh! Sir, this is you.
Of course it's me. Did you think I would just walk away?
I thought this was a possibility. When Bhagwan wanted to wager on it, however,
What have you done?
I have tilled more than a quarter of a hectare today.
Oh, that's more work than you've done in your entire life.
I think you might be right.
Why the sudden fit of energy?
Ownership provides great incentive.
Ownership. You're deluding yourself. Do you think you could possibly get away with this?
A deed to the farm. And on the bottom line, where the lake pal must stamp the deed, you will find
Bhagwan, how much did you pay?
11,000 rupees.
That's how much you paid to have me declared dead.
No, that's what I paid him to put his stamp on the deed. It cost me 22,000 rupees to have him sign the death certificate.
22,000.
That's right. Surely you can see how much regard I have for you.
Excuse me?
It would have cost me only half as much to hire someone to kill you. But since you are my brother, and I respect my family, I thought this would be a better way. There are certain decencies that should be seen.
Are you out of your mind?
Let's see. I've gotten rid of a brother who always loathed himself over me. I have inherited the family farm. I'm working for myself now, rather than for slaving someone who always treated me like a hired servant. Am I out of my mind? I think not.
You think you'll get away with this?
I think you might try to prevent it.
I will prevent it.
By the time you convince someone to take you seriously, we'll both have long turned to dust. Good luck, brother. You will need it.
Scene 4, in which Mr. Masra discusses his changed fortunes with his wife.
They told me you were dead. But something told me not to believe it.
I am alive, as you can see.
The heavens have been kind.
Why is everything we own sitting in the middle of the road?
I took everything that I could carry. Your brother told me I had 20 minutes to gather everything I could. I tried to pick out what was most important.
He's living in our house.
He says it's his now.
This is more outrageous than I could have imagined.
He seems to resent you.
If I knew that, Mrs. Masra, that has become quite evident.
What will we do now?
First things first, you have to find a place to stay tonight. I won't have you without a roof over your head.
And where will we go?
Our neighbors will help us.
Scene 5, in which the Masras set out to find shelter for the night. The search was harder than Mr. Masra had imagined. There were people who seemed to want to help.
We have been friends for so long.
We've done business for so many years.
Of course, my wife knows your wife.
But soon, clouds of regret seemed to cover the sun of generosity.
I wish I could help.
If only I
Oh,
could.
it pains me so much.
Reasons were given.
I have a relative visiting from Delhi.
My cousin's staying with us.
My wife just gave birth.
It's already so crowded.
As Mr. Masra looked them in the eye, some of them admitted other motives.
Your brother has promised to reduce the price of the products from your farm.
He's promised to lend me a billy goat to mate with my she-goats.
He promised to vote my nephew for mayor.
And eventually, something closer to the truth emerged.
It's not that I'm superstitious.
At least not much.
But it could be better.
But I'm not a ghost.
Mr. Masra.
I'm alive.
Mr. Masra, we must keep going.
Just before darkness settled over the land, the Masras reached at the outskirts of Biscuity. Scene 6, in which the Masras find a benefactor and a haven.
Mr. Masra, what are you doing here?
My friend. We've been the victims of a terrible misfortune.
Tell me.
My brother arrived in Lekpal. He had me declared dead while I traveled to Malabar.
How could he do such a thing?
I wish I knew. All I know is that he's left us without anything. We've been thrown out of our own home.
Oh, that's shameful. I wish I had room in my own home.
That's all right, Chatur. We understand.
But there's room in my barn. It's not much, but
My friend, you've no idea. We were beginning to despair.
And although the barn was drafty, and the only floor was the earth beneath their feet, and the roof leaked when the rains came at 3 in the morning, the masters still felt as if they were lucky to have a refuge. Next day, Mr. Masra journeyed to Malaga, the district capital. Scene 7, in which Mr. Masra seeks legal representation.
It is an interesting case. However, it will be expensive to prosecute. My retainer would be high.
Although I have no money
Oh,
now.
Mr. Masra, you must understand. It is not that I do not want to help you, but a man must make a living.
Undeterred, Mr. Masra consulted with another member of the legal profession.
The problem is that it's a difficult case.
But surely, when I'm clearly alive and well.
But the official documents, the precedent, the unlikelihood of success, I do wish I could help you if circumstances were different.
Just as he was about to be discouraged, Mr. Masra happened upon the office of yours truly, B.J. Gupta, barrister. You understand that I'm not promising success?
Mr. Gupta, you will take my case?
Yes, Mr. Masra.
I have no money.
You also have no justice. I will see if I can remedy both situations. It will take time.
Oh, I understand.
Much time.
I understand.
I doubt you do. I will do the best I can. But the wheels of justice grind exceptionally slowly, Mr. Masra. Can you survive while I fight your case?
I will do whatever it takes.
Very good. Very good. There is one other thing that you should know.
What's that?
Well, I usually lose my cases.
Perhaps it's time we both had a change of luck.
May the gods smile on our efforts. And so Mr. Masra went home to his hovel in the barn that night, thinking that he had taken one step towards regaining his old life. Next day, he knew he had to do something to earn what in earlier days he would have called his livelihood. Scene 8, in which Mr. Masra seeks employment. He got a job as a foreman of a firm in Anna, a nearby village. It paid poorly, but still, it was a living. As soon as the landowner found out that he was a dead man,
You
However-
have to understand.
But I've been doing a good job.
It makes my children uncomfortable to have someone around who's, well,
But I'm not dead.
perhaps not. But you are fired.
Mr. Masra went to every employer he could think of, but no one would hire him. Finally, after he had been reduced to exhaustion, begging for money in villages that were as far as he could commute by foot every day, but can still make it back to the burn before midnight, his luck began to improve.
My friend, it seems you have seen better days before.
Can you help me?
I have no money,
Ah,
but I can give you a job. What's the matter?
doesn't matter.
When I told you I could give you a job, there was hope in your eyes. And then it seemed as if that the world had crashed on your shoulders.
You wouldn't understand.
Then be so kind enough as to enlighten me.
If you knew who I was, you wouldn't want to hire me to do anything.
Yeah, I know that you are a beggar on the street, barely able to lift your hands up to beg. But yet, I'm ready to hire you. What could you say that would dissuade me?
I could speak volumes.
I don't have time to listen to volumes, but speak as the poet speaks, so that one word might stand in place of 100. Tell me your story.
I am dead.
You do look somewhat worse for wear, but you don't look dead to me.
In Bisguti, there is a piece of paper signed by the Lekpal that says, I am dead.
I have heard of such thing, but I've never met a dead man before.
I told you, you wouldn't want to hire me to do anything.
Oh, when I said I had a job, I never said it was a good job.
But it seems the breathing dead aren't suited even for the worst of jobs.
Well, I have a herd of goats. I sell the manure as fertilizer. I need somebody to shovel the dung into the cart and take it from the field to the road, to the stall, which is the headquarter of my fertilizer business. I don't think that the goats would mind, even if you are officially dead.
At present, I don't think I could even lift the shovel.
Well, after 2 good meals, I'm sure you will revive.
And my wife?
Oh, she's welcome too. Come, come, my friend.
And so once again, Mr. Masra was a beneficiary of human kindness. He had occasions to see that there is a balance in life between good and evil. Even though his circumstances were not what he had enjoyed in his former life, and even though his fortunes were not what one could call favored, at least he had work, and he could afford to pay his other benefactor, Shaturdan, a tiny sum in exchange for the space he and his wife occupied in Mr. Dal's firm. His sense of self began to revive, and as the small spark of pride began to burn, he was emboldened to go and see his lawyer. Yours true, Vijay Gupta, barrister. Scene 9, in which Mr. Masra inquires the progress of his legal case.
Mr. Gupta!
Mr. Masra, I have not seen you for several months. I was beginning to think that perhaps further misfortune had overtaken you. Are you well?
The spirit and the flesh are connected for the time being.
That is good. Very good.
How is the progress of my case?
I regret to inform you that everything is moving slowly. Very slowly indeed. Your brother's lawyer has employed delaying tactics. Although this was to be expected, it's nonetheless frustrating.
Yes.
May I be bold enough to offer an advice?
Please.
In the best case scenario, this case will take years before it bears fruit. In the meantime, there may be something you can do to spark things along.
Tell me.
Every time your name appears in public records, or in the newspapers for that matter, every time your name is on the lips of the people of Bisgudi, it will become that much difficult for your brother to prove that you actually do not exist. Reality tends to take a backseat in matters of law, but that doesn't mean it's entirely irrelevant.
What should I do?
Anything. Anything that makes you the subject of official records. Anything that forces them to notice you. Use your imagination.
Thank you.
I think it might even be useful to stretch the boundaries of law. If you know what I mean.
Ah. I'll try.
And so Mr. Masra set out to be a best. The first person he consulted was his wife. Scene 10, in which Mr. Masra has an idea to aid in the process of restoring himself to life.
Are you sure that we should do this?
If we want to follow Mr. Gupta's advice, it seems like a logical step.
But it feels wrong.
Why?
Because I know you're not dead. Everyone knows you're not dead.
Isn't it obvious then that we've got to get them to stop pretending that I'm dead?
Yes, but to apply for widow's benefits, it seems that I'm...
If they insist that I'm dead, why shouldn't you collect widow's benefits? It would make our life easier if we had a little money, wouldn't it?
Yes, but...
And it would make it easier to repay those people who've been kind to us in our misfortune, wouldn't it?
Yes, Gopal, it's just that...
What? Is it that you don't want to face the Lekal? If it hadn't been for Bhagwan, my brother would never have been able to do this monstrous thing. Why shouldn't you have to look him in the eye? If it embarrasses you, think how much more it will embarrass him.
But that's not what troubles me.
Then what is it?
If I say this to him, if I say I'm a widow, give me widow's benefits, let me collect money because my husband is no more,
What of it?
then isn't that a way of saying that I agree with them? That I think of you as having passed away?
Don't be ridiculous. Do you see me standing here in front of you?
Of course.
And do you feel me lying next to you in the middle of the night?
Yes.
Then I trust you are not of the general opinion that my soul has fled my body. This is just a tactic now. A way of making them see what you and I already know.
If you tell me I should do this thing, I will do it.
I know that we must do it. You're strong, Nahi. You will make them see.
And so the masters went to see Bhagavan Neda. At first, he was taken aback by their request.
You wish to do what?
I wish to apply for widow's benefits. All of the paperwork is in order,
But
including the death certificate with your signature.
this is most unusual.
I agree.
I don't see how we can...
And what?
I don't see how we can grant this request.
I don't see how you can deny it.
It's just that.
It's just that what?
But since you know,
What is it that you think I know? You're stumbling over your words, Mr. Nera.
I can understand that you have undergone certain hardship since your husband, since he. In any case, I have an idea which might remedy this situation. I know that Mrs. Chandra, the seamstress, she is looking for an assistant. And because you are so skilled with needle and thread,
I've already spoken to Mrs. Chandra. The wage she's offering is less than half the widow's benefits offered by the state. It wouldn't make any sense for me to take such a position then, would it?
obviously you wouldn't. I didn't mean to say.
You're stumbling again.
Mrs. Masra.
There is, of course, one way in which you could avoid having to pay me widow's benefits.
That would be.
To admit that my husband, who sits here by my side as we speak, is indeed alive. To admit before all the world that you lied, that you were guilty of a terrible crime when you falsely declared him dead.
I'll have to process your application through proper channels.
Thank you, Mr. Nera.
Even though Mrs. Masra hated to admit it, she did feel pleasure at being able to put Mr. Nera on the spot. Both the masters felt that by applying pressure this way might lead to the end of their trouble. And as they waited to hear from Mr. Nera, Mrs. Masra made an interesting discovery. Scene 11, in which Mrs. Masra imparts joyous news.
When did you find out?
I thought it might be true for some weeks, but now I'm sure.
When?
Just after the harvest.
I can't believe it.
It is strange, isn't it?
You've waited so long for this.
Perhaps we had to undergo these troubles in order to bring about such a blessing.
It is strange.
But it's also wonderful.
Much more than that.
But it is also true that on this earth, every blessing has another side. Every sword is double-edged. Soon Mrs. Masra was asked to appear before the Lekpal, Bhagavan Neda. Scene 12, in which the tables are turned.
Mrs. Masra,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you if you wish to withdraw your application for widow's benefits.
And why would I do such a thing?
Because Sarida, wife of Shaturda,
whose body he'll inhabit, overheard something, accidental, and in a moment that was perhaps not as discreet as she might have wished, had she given the matter any thought, she mentioned what she had overheard to Bhima Noah. Bhima Noah, in a moment of human weakness, of which surely you can understand as we are all subject to such moments, mentioned what she had heard to Kira Mera, who, as you know, is my wife. She, when she heard of that news, considered it her duty to tell me.
What is it that you discovered in this roundabout way?
That you are pregnant.
And why should that cause me to withdraw my application?
Because it has been 10 months since I signed your husband's death certificate. Now, if you wish to apply for widow's benefits, well, the implications are obvious, aren't they? Surely you don't want your child to move in life bearing the stigma of a bastard?
I do not understand how you can do this!
Do you wish to withdraw your application?
Upon hearing that the greatest event of his life had been used against him by a man who had once been his friend, and that his wife had been further humiliated in the process, Mr. Master decided to take a more active approach. Scene 13, in which Mr. Master decides that law is no barrier for a dead man.
Fresh guavas, mangoes, bananas. Fresh guavas, mangoes.
Hello, my friend.
Hey, good morning, sir. May I interest you in buying some of the fruits?
Do you know who I am?
I just came from Ashbarka today. I'm afraid I didn't recognize you.
That's all right. In fact, it's perfect.
Good, eh? That'll be 15 rupees. So the price is... You need to pay for those.
I should tell you right now that I have no intention whatsoever of paying for this fruit.
What are you saying?
I'm saying I'm not going to pay you.
Then I'll call for a policeman.
I wish you would.
Are you out of your mind?
Hey, would you like some fruit?
Yeah, sure. It's got that. That's my fruit. How much?
Don't worry, I've got it.
Hey, stop! Stop! Give me back my fruit!
I'll clean you out if you don't call the cops.
You are insane! Police! Police! Help! Police!
Hey, what's going on here?
He's stealing all my fruit!
What do you have to say for yourself?
She's right.
What do you mean?
I'm stealing her fruit.
You admit it?
Yes, I confess. I'm stealing her fruit. Look at all of this, all stolen.
Hey, what's going on here?
What do you mean, what's going on? I'm stealing her fruit.
I've been in the police force for 15 years. Never have I seen anybody admitting of his crime before.
Never, ever.
What difference does it make? The man confessed!
It's the only time I've seen a confession has been in the movies.
He's a criminal. Arrest him!
All right. Hey, what's your name?
Gopal Masra.
Repeat that name, please.
Gopal Masra.
You are the dead guy.
Do I look dead to you?
I don't care how he looks. I want him arrested.
I'm afraid you don't understand.
What is there to understand?
Okay,
It's already clear.
let me ask you a question. How did he behave after he stole your fruit?
Behave? He admitted he was stealing my fruit.
And then what did he do?
No.
You want to be arrested, don't you?
Does it matter?
I'm afraid it does.
What are you saying? Arrest him.
He wants to be arrested so that he can prove that he is alive.
What are you talking about?
The official records say that he is dead.
But isn't it obvious? Like a dead man can't steal fruit.
What? I demand that you arrest me.
You see,
He's alive!
there'll be a lot of people who would get into a lot of trouble if that were proven to be the case. And some could even go to jail.
And he should be one of them.
Hey, be a good fellow, give her back.
No, I refuse.
What is the cost of the fruit he's already eaten?
15 rupees.
And the cost of the fruit in his pocket?
85 rupees at least.
Okay. Fine, here's 30 rupees, take it.
You're not going to take him into custody?
No, that would cost too much trouble.
And what about the rest of my money?
Apply to the district authorities, they'll reimburse you.
If it ever happens at all.
This is unacceptable.
I agree.
Henceforth, you will save me life, my friend. Come now, go.
No, I won't. I'll stay here and steal some more fruit.
Give it back.
Hey, move on.
I'm staying here, no.
There'll be other parts of the town which will need your fruit.
Are you telling me that I'm the one who's supposed to move?
That's about the size of it.
This is outrageous. I report to the authorities.
And I'll get a commendation now. Push on. You want to be arrested?
You arrest me, not him.
Put your hands behind your back.
I'm leaving.
Move.
I said I hope you.
You better move on, or I will use my own methods to get you out of here.
Such as?
You have to make myself clearer.
I'll sue you.
Not if you are really dead, you won't.
And so Mr. Master decided that for the time being, discretion was a better part of valor. On his way home, he passed by the intersection where the constable's dog sat, waiting faithfully for his master.
Moti, come here. You know I won't hurt you. What's the matter? Moti? Why do you look so puzzled? It's just me. Don't you recognize me? Moti?
Mr. Master knelt there for a moment, sensing that something had happened, but unwilling to admit to himself what exactly had transpired. More than ever, he wanted the authorities to recognize that he is still very much alive. The following month, he saw a great opportunity that fate had cast on his path. An election for the delegate to the regional assembly was to take place. Although Gopal, as a dead man, could not legally run for office, he saw no reason not to run as a write-in candidate. His wife, Navi, stood beside him in this attempt. Scene 14, in which Mr. Masra seeks public office. The two of them campaigned to every corner of the region. They could not afford the signs. So Mr. Masra's boss, Mr. Bahadi, let him take buckets of goat dung, which the two of them used to paint campaign slogans on walls of every village in the district. Towards the end of the campaign season, a public debate was held at the regional capital.
And so, you have heard all the candidates for delegate to the regional assembly. We hope that, having listened to the opinions of these wise men and women, you will now have a firm basis by which you can elect.
Excuse me, madam.
You will now have a firm basis by which you can
Excuse me, madam. These people have not heard all the candidates.
I'm sorry, sir. They have heard all the candidates whose names will appear on the ballot.
But I'm running as a write-in candidate, and I demand the right to be heard.
This is entirely regular.
Does that make it wrong?
Sir, please. The meeting is over.
Very good. The meeting is over. Now, all of you who would like to hear from another candidate, please stay. Good. You see, they're staying. My name is Gopal Masra, and I am a dead man. So, am I running to avenge my own misfortune? Am I running for myself alone? No. I say to you, if you have a voice that has not been heard, if you have a grievance that has not been addressed, If you have had to face 1,000 enemies and have had scarcely anyone to stand by your side, then you must listen to me. If you have money and power and influence, then you can vote for one of these other candidates. But if you have none of these things, then you must listen to your heart and write in my name on the ballot. Thank you.
Sir,
Yes.
no one has spoken to me during an election campaign. Not in the entire time I have been alive.
I'm glad I was able to say something that needed to be expressed.
I wanted you to know you will have my vote.
Thank you, sir. And spread the word. Who knows, on election day, something unusual might happen.
If the gods will it.
When Mr. Master's brother Kanong and his former friend Bhagavan Nera heard about Mr. Master's candidacy, they decided it might be wise to hire someone to discourage the movement before it gained any momentum.
You were impressed with his speech.
Yes, he said things I wish I could have said.
And you intend to vote for him, huh?
I'll definitely vote for him.
Well, that's too bad.
Too bad for you.
A similar fate overtook anyone who expressed the slightest inclination to vote for Mr. Master. On the election day, the results were predictable.
Mr. Prakash, 11,532 votes. Mrs. Bihari, 9,309 votes. Mr. Kadasa, 5,613 votes.
And what about write-in votes?
There were no write-in votes.
Until now, Mr. Master had sometimes been an object of curiosity. Some people, when he passed by, would have spoken his name in hushed whispers. Some would even cross the street when they saw him coming. This rudeness, though upsetting, seemed to go with the territory of the being deceased. Even more disturbing was when he became the victim of violence, when people assaulted him with rocks. But now, a strange new phenomena began to manifest itself. Scene 15, in which Mr. Masra disappeared. It was during the festival of Janmashtami, celebration of Krishna's birth.
know me. Don't deny it, you know me.
No one will meet his eyes.
All right. What have I done? What have I done? Stone me. Throw rocks at me. I don't care. I'm here.
For months, Mr. Masra had survived from day to day, knowing that no matter what happened, things just could not get any worse. But now, he began to understand that he has not yet hit the bottom. He walked homeward towards the barn that he and his wife had now lived in for almost a year. What he saw surprised him. Scene 16, in which Mr. Masra faces downturn in his fortunes.
Navi, why are you carrying?
Oh, we must move on.
What's happened?
We've been evicted.
Why?
Mr. Masra, it would be better if you did not ask, only accept.
Everything in life has a boundary now.
What do you mean?
Even acceptance has its limits.
And so Mr. Masra went to seek out his former benefactor, Chaturdan.
My friend, you put me in an awkward position.
I know.
You forced me to ask why.
Look up at the sun. What is certain beneath that great light?
Perhaps you should tell them.
Only change, my friend.
And what has changed to make you turn us out of your bar?
You've become famous.
Don't be ridiculous. No one will even speak to me.
Still, there are many who are fascinated by you. By one couple offered me 7 times the rent you pay, just so that they could dwell in the house of the ghost of Biscotti.
The house of what?
The ghost of Biscotti, it's what they're calling you now.
I don't think I understand. People would pay to have me turned out of my own home.
Well, they're not the first to ask. I mean, one couple offered to rent the barn just so that they could say that they've lived where you've lived. I turned them away, of course. But then,
What?
a sort of bidding war started.
You're serious?
I held off as long as I could.
If you'd wanted us to share the barn, we would have been happy to.
Yeah, that was the problem.
What was the problem?
Well, no one would rent the place if you were still there.
Let me get this straight. The fact that I lived there made the place valuable because I'm
A celebrity, I suppose.
But people didn't want to live with me because
Well, they think of you as a ghost.
I'm a celebrity precisely because I'm a ghost.
That's right.
I'm confused.
Superstition, I guess.
People want to live in a haunted house, but
Not if they think the ghost is still in residence.
it doesn't make any sense.
Well, there came a point in time when it started to make business sense, I'm ashamed to say. It was very much against my will, but eventually,
We simply offered you more money than you could refuse.
yes.
My friend, you've been kind to us when nobody else was. It's hard for me to be angry,
Mr. Masra.
but I'll manage.
It's all right, Mr. Masra. It's a warm night. We can sleep beneath the sky. It will be fine.
And so later that night, the Masras laid their heads down in an open field. Mr. Masra watched the stars wheel overhead. It was several hours before he could close his eyes. Next day, he reported to work, prepared to shovel the dung from Mr. Bahadir's goats. Scene 17, in which Mr. Masra makes a terrible discovery.
Who are you?
I shoveled the dung into the carts.
We don't need you anymore.
Excuse me?
We have a machine to do that now.
Can I speak to Mr. Bahadi, please?
Mr. Bahad is gone.
What?
You sold hurt.
To you?
to Japanese multinational information. What to me meant to her.
And Mr. Bahati?
He moved to Monte Carlo.
To where?
Organic fertilizers were more profitable than anyone knew.
Surely you need someone to help with the goats.
I'm afraid not.
I'll do anything.
I know you will, but
Please.
there's nothing I can do.
I beg you.
There's nothing I can do.
That night, after Mr. Master lost his job of shoveling down, the master started out again, trying to look for shelter. Everywhere they went, they met with stony eyes looking through them. Next day, Mr. Master went back to the towns where he had scratched out a living as a beggar.
Help a poor man. Help me. Please.
The same people who in earlier days, after his supposed death, would take pity in him and hand him a few coins. Now just passed by, without paying any attention to his entreaties. Mr. Masra went back to his wife without having collected a single rupee. When he saw Navi wearing white, the color of mourning, he knew that the last straw had been broken. Scene 18, in which Mr. Masra looks into the abyss.
Navi,
Yes.
don't.
I've noticed that the colors on your shirts have started to fade.
It's just your imagination.
They've started to look at me.
Please.
As if I'm dead too.
Navi, this can't.
There's nothing to stop it!
I will stop it.
A dead man can't stop anything. Not even time. Keeps moving on for the rest of us.
But the baby.
Time keeps moving for him as well. He will come soon. He will need to be fed. He will need a home.
And who will take care of him if you leave me? As a widow, no one will take you.
No Indian will take me.
What do you mean?
There is an American.
No.
He's rich. He's here to invest.
You can't do this.
Even acceptance has its limits. I have to protect your son. Make sure that he has food.
Please.
America is still the land of the free. I love you, Mr. Master. Put everything I'm about you.
Don't leave me.
I can't let our child suffer.
I beg you.
Before it's born. I won't forget you. Even if everyone else has.
It was then that something snapped inside Mr. Master. He wandered throughout the night, weeping to such an extent that he could hardly see where he was going. Eventually, he wound up at the crossroads at the Biscuti, where the constable's dog kept his usual vigil.
Moti, it's you. You've no idea what's happened. I thought things were bad, but I had no idea. I need a friend tonight. You recognize me this time, don't you? Moti? Moti, what's the matter? Moti, what's wrong? Moti!
Mr. Master began to run. He ran long after the constable's dog had given up the chase. He ran till his lungs went blood. Overcome with exhaustion, hunger, and despair, he fell asleep. He dreamt of all he had lost, and with his mind possessed by grief, it can truly be said that his life hung by a slender thread. Now might be a good time for all of us to think about the fragility of our lives, while at the same time, take a brief respite. We will rejoin Mr. Masra when the sun rises. Say about in 15 minutes. We will see you then. When we left Mr. Masra, he was lying in the ditch, dreaming of the nightmare his life had become. But as the first light began to show in the eastern sky, a stranger approached. Scene 19, in which Mr. Masra faces a new dawn.
No. No, you don't. Please, don't.
Sir!
No.
Oh you look like you haven't eaten in days. Here, take this. Eat.
Thank you. This is good.
We must both be thankful to the farmer from whom I stole this. We must be thankful he had a good year and could afford to make an involuntary donation to the poor. Do you disapprove?
No, I'm in no position to disapprove. Why did you do that?
Isn't it natural to want to help someone?
Why didn't you just pass on by?
You were having a bad dream.
Who are you?
No one.
You can't be no one. You woke me up.
It looked like sleep was making you miserable.
If you think sleep is better, you've no idea what I've been living through.
No one can know that. What another person lives through, that is.
That's true.
Come with me.
Where?
I found a place underneath the bridge nearby. It's a lonely place, but no one bothers me. It's almost rainy season. You must have a roof over your head, even if it is a road.
And so the woman took Mr. Masra back to her dwelling, beneath the bridge, on the road to airport. On the first day, Mr. Masra did nothing but sleep. And on those occasions when he woke up, she had foods which she had appropriated to keep both of them alive. On the second day, he was well enough to converse.
And who are you, really?
I told you, no one.
If I say you can't be no one, you must have a history, a name.
I'm ashamed of all that.
And then perhaps it would make things easier if I told you that I'm dead.
You're a ghost.
Well, that depends on who you ask.
Explain, please.
My brother bribed a local official, someone who used to be my friend, to have me declared dead so he could inherit my land.
Ah,
Now do you wish you'd just pass me by?
how can one pass by a kinsman?
Are we related?
We share the closest possible relation. Beyond blood, even.
What do you mean?
I too am dead.
That can't be.
My husband wanted to be with another woman. Eventually, my existence became inconvenient enough that he had to do something about it. A death certificate was issued and I was left for dead, even by those who could see me before their own eyes.
I know that feeling very well. So, what was your name when you were alive?
Davati Samapur. When you were alive?
Gopal Masra.
You look like you've come a long way.
I don't know how far I've come.
You're in Uttar Pradesh.
But I started in Rajasthan.
Nevertheless, you finished in Uttar Pradesh.
That's a long way.
Yes.
How odd that we met.
It was meant to be.
The only two walking dead people in India.
Well, there are others.
Others?
Of course, there's Lada Amapur. He's less than 2 kilometers from here in a culvert. And there's Rupa Balador. She's
where?
2 towns over. She has a space underneath a stairway and a place where the untouchables live.
She lives with untouchables.
The art of being dead consists of remaining unseen.
Ah.
You should rest. You're still worn out.
Yes.
And so the two of them slept. At a respectful distance. At 2 in the morning, there was a thunderstorm. Scene 20, in which Mr. Master is awakened by a notion.
Mrs. Summer.
Mr. Master, it's only a thunderstorm. Go back to sleep.
It wasn't the storm that woke me.
What is it?
We must find your friends.
Who?
Mr. Amapur, Miss Baladur.
What are you talking about?
I saw it in my dreams.
Saw what?
We must gather the dead together. Where there are 2 or 3, there must be hundreds. We're not alone.
What then?
We go to Delhi.
And so, before the lights of dawn broke through the clouds of the night, Mr. Masra and Mrs. Samapur took to the road. feeding this increasing multitude became a difficult problem. Narvati Samapur's skills earned over almost 5 years of living as a walking corpse were of considerable assistance in overcoming this challenge. Scene 21, in which Mr. Masra must modify his moral standards.
We wait here for the diversion. Some of our dead brothers will cause a disturbance near the corner. Once they distract the owner of the vegetable cart, we must move quickly. Take what you can while you run, but no more. The secret lies in the speed with which we move.
Mrs. Samapur. Shh. Mrs. Samapur.
Quiet.
I don't think I can do this.
You've told me you've stolen before. I don't see what the problem is.
But the only reason I did that was to get my name on the record so the police would have to acknowledge that I was alive.
What's the difference?
Paying for my crime was part of the point of the exercise.
Did you ask to be declared dead?
No.
Have you asked to be declared alive again?
Repeatedly.
Then you're left with no choice. If they won't let you make a living, they must pay for the cost of your being dead.
But
listen to me.
This seller of vegetables didn't have me declared dead. Why should he have to?
He's one of them.
Who?
They're living. They all have to pay.
I don't understand.
No more of this, Mr. Masra. You can starve if you want to, but if you want to eat tonight, and if you want our followers to eat, you must do as I say. Do you understand?
Yes.
Here comes the diversion. Wait. Wait. He's following them down the street. Now!
By the time they reached the outskirts of Delhi, there were 10,000 dead people in their way. The fires from their camps made the sky outside the city turn orange. Scene 22, in which Mr. Masra and Mrs. Samapur sit by the river.
And so,
Yes.
we are here.
Almost.
What now?
Tomorrow we make them take notice of the dead.
How?
I have a plan.
Tell me.
Oh,
Why not?
when the morning light comes, we will talk about what we must do.
Why not now?
Mrs. Samapur,
Yes.
look at the moonlight over the river.
Can you smell it?
What?
Jasmine from somewhere across the water.
Yes. We've been so busy, we've forgotten to breathe. Forgotten to see.
Yes.
When I still had my farm, I used to look out over the land and think about all the life living in the soil. Worms, insects, 1,000 things burrowing their way into the ground. And the seeds I planted, I knew that they were growing even though I couldn't see them. I knew they would eventually break through the surface and turn themselves to the sun. I suppose fishermen must feel the same way about the river. We must look out over the surface and think about all the life just below the water. We must love the river, as I loved my father.
Mr. Masra, you're a poet.
You're laughing at me.
No, I promise. Do you ever think what will happen to us when this is all over?
We'll be alive again. We'll be several thousand who were dead.
I
and
didn't
now...
mean all of... I meant you and me.
I can't think about that now.
Is it because...
It's because that's something I can only think about when we stop being dead. Then we can live. We can do whatever we decide. Do you understand why I can't? Not yet. You're laughing at me again.
I'm smiling because you see yourself only as others see you.
And how do you see me?
As you are. As a man who leads thousands of people.
You feed them, Mr. Samapu. You're their leader.
I'm not the one that came up with the idea of gathering the dead together. I'm not the one that convinced people to leave their homes, however poor or miserable those homes might have been, and undertake this journey. And most of these people have never been more than a few miles from where they were born. But here they are, following you. I'm not the one that inspires them when things seem hopeless. I doubt you ever feel a lot more alive than you do right now. I know I was living in shadow life before I met you. It seems strange to feel grateful for such a fate, but had I not died, I never would have known you. I never would have known what life could be.
Who's the poet now?
I'm ashamed.
There's no
I've
reason
said
to.
too much.
No, there's much more to be said, and I'll say it all, but first.
You must make them see you.
Yes. All of them. Something inside me, something I have to do. Can you be patient?
Yes.
Tonight, let's just watch the moon set. Let's listen to the sound of the water.
All right.
So the two of them sat there, completely still, for the rest of the night. By the dawn, however, the officially dead began to stir. Scene 23, in which Mr. Masra begins the campaign of death in Delhi!
My death certificate was signed 2 years ago. Many of you have been dead 5 years, 10 years. We've been gone too long. The time has come to rejoin the living. This morning, we will split up into teams of 100. We will find the main thoroughfares of Delhi. We will sit in the middle of those intersections, and we will force them to arrest us. When they arrest you, make no protest, but remember to give them your name. Put your name on the record. When they arrest 10,000 dead, suddenly they will be forced to acknowledge that we are here. Rise up now and reclaim your place in the world.
Masra! 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 On the first day, the traffic was backed up so far that the police did not arrive until long after dark. Some police officers arriving at the scene acted precipitous.
All right, out of the road.
I'm not going anywhere.
And I'll have to arrest you.
Oh, lock me up. Shackle me up.
What's your name?
Lada Amapo.
Address?
This intersection.
So, you are going to make this difficult, huh? Profession?
Dead person.
Just what I need. A comedian!
When the chief of the police realized what had happened,
Do you have any idea what you have done?
I did what you told me to do.
I didn't tell you to arrest all the dead people. It's just what they want.
How was I supposed to know he was dead? He looked alive to me.
Yeah, and then he told you he was dead.
Well, what do you want me to do with him now?
Turn him loose. Destroy all the record of the arrest.
And rest of them?
Let them be. They can't see the street forever. They will get tired sooner or later.
but the police chief did not take into account the living dead working in shifts. On the second day, the traffic in Delhi was backed up for miles. No one could move anywhere. And time seemed to stop in the city.
We're winning!
So it would seem.
You seem doubtful.
It can't be this easy.
Indeed, it wasn't. On the third day,
They're rerouting traffic around the main roads.
Break your groups in half. Disperse as much as you can and cover the new routes. Hurry!
On the fourth day, the authorities realized that they could no longer take the situation lying down.
What do you want me to do?
Spray them with a water cannon.
What if it doesn't work?
Then use the dogs.
It was terrible. One of the dogs went for my throat. I managed to get away. I ran. I'm sorry.
No, you have to save yourself.
There are many whose injuries are much worse.
I should have known.
Gopal, many of the dead are leaving. They'd rather be forgotten than killed.
This is exactly the time when we have to stand firm.
I'll stay. I'll speak to as many of them as I can.
Good.
But despite their best efforts, as many as 1,000 of the living dead drifted away from the city that night. On the fifth day, an incident occurred.
Can I have a word with you?
Sir, we don't mean to be blocking your way, but the dead have been left with no choice.
I want to make a contribution for your cause.
Excuse me?
It must be expensive feeding all these people.
It is.
Why don't you come over here? I don't want to flash a wad of cash in front of the crowd.
All right, then. It's truly generous of you, sir. Not many people here understand what it is we're trying to do.
Do you have any idea how much time and money you have cost me?
Sir?
Do you? Maybe this will teach you a lesson to stay out of the road.
We were going to be married.
Miss Ballard.
Rita, after all that we've been through, I thought things were finally going to happen. I should have learned better.
He was trying to. He wanted to.
He wanted what we all wanted. It seems we never get it. I've been with the two of you since the beginning, but now I must go home.
Back to the corner, under the staircase of the Untouchables.
Back to where I can be left alone. It seems less terrible now that I've seen the price of being seen and heard.
You and Larga were among the first to join us. If you leave us, what will the rest of them think?
Let her go. Everyone must follow their own conscience. We have no right to ask for more. We are beaten. We should send the rest of them home before any more are injured. Gopal, we will be responsible if any more are killed. I can't be part of that. It's time for us to leave and make a living with what we have.
We've come this far. We have gathered so many people to fight for the right to be alive, to be known as living persons. I think Lada died for nothing and I'm to blame.
If they're actually ready to kill us, people want us dead. From the lowliest peasant to the people in the presidential palace. I said I can't be part
What you just said.
About what?
About everyone in the presidential palace wanting us dead.
What are you thinking?
Something radical.
Tell
dangerous.
me. If it's something we can do without endangering the others, we can do it together.
No, this is something you mustn't even think
Tell
about.
me what you're thinking.
No!
All this time we've been together and now you're telling me I can't be part
These last few months, I felt closer to you than I have to any other living soul. We've shared everything together. I couldn't have come this far without you. But now,
Tell me what you're going to do.
I'm going to settle this once and for all. I want you to go back to Uttar Pradesh.
I won't leave you.
Go back and wait underneath the bridge where you used to live.
I will not leave you.
If all things work out for the best, I will meet you back there.
Don't do this. Don't.
How can I do anything else?
If you're not with me,
I have to be alive. Others must know it. Must acknowledge it. Without that, I cannot be a man. Without that, there will always be a kind of shame that will come between us.
Not for me.
But for me, I must do this.
I don't understand.
I know. But please, go back to the bridge, be patient. It will make me feel better if I know you're safe.
Mr. Masra gathered 100 of the 1,000 who had left. He gathered the bravest, those who were angriest and most frustrated that their identities had been stolen away from them.
Those of you who are coming with me, you know what we must do, and you know why we must do it. The rest of you, you are our witnesses. If what we do today works, we will all benefit. If it does not, then ask yourselves if tomorrow you can follow us in what we do. Perhaps a few days of this will make them see that we are here. Do not do it if you do not have the heart to do it. I can say no more.
And so Mr. Masra and 100 of his most ardent supporters went to Rashtrapati Bhavan, the official residence of the President of India. They arranged to take the tour offered to the public. A guide took them through the halls.
Prior to 1947, the English Viceroy used Rashtrapati Bhavan as his residence. In this room, a typical example of Mughal style of architecture. He held large-scale receptions on state occasions.
And where are the offices of the current president located?
Down the long corridor to the left. That section of the building is not open to the tourist, however.
I need to see the president.
I'm afraid that's impossible, sir.
All things are possible. There are 100 of us here. Tell the president that if she does not see us, we will all spill our own blood right here in the Viceroy's reception room. Tell her to bring the press along with her. You have 10 minutes.
As they waited, all of the living there who came with Mr. Masra had to contemplate whether they could really plunge that dagger into their own breast. After 9 minutes and 30 seconds, the president arrived with a bracing soul.
What is all this about?
It's good to see there's at least one person in India who's not afraid of talking to a ghost.
What do you mean?
We are all dead. Officially dead. Clerks have been bribed, death certificates issued, our property stolen by greedy relatives. We've been left to wander the streets, left to beg or steal, left without a word of comfort from anyone among the living.
I did not know about this.
Our lives have been stolen from us, and we've come either to have them restored or to forfeit them in your presence. There are thousands more like us.
But this is a matter for the courts. Surely you cannot expect me
The
to...
courts will not hear us. No one will hear us.
But I cannot do it.
If not you, then who? Who? It's up to you. How many hundreds will it take to convince you that we are alive? We've gallons of blood and we're willing to spill it.
You will not do anything.
We will do it. I know that you will not be the one to get down on your hands and knees and scrub our guts off the floor. But even if you get others to cart our bodies to the ash heap, you will know. Our blood will be on your hands.
There are laws, sir. I'm not a dictator. I cannot snap fingers and issue orders here. That is not the way things work.
You can bring a judge to this place. Bring him now.
I cannot allow the government to be blackmailed in this way. Not unless I want to entertain hundreds and millions of suicidal petitioners.
Then you are a criminal.
Who are you to say such a thing to me?
He is a man who has brought people here willing to stain your carpet with their own lives.
Mrs. Samapour.
People willing to do so in front of the press.
No.
It seems there's nothing to see here after all. If you return to my offices, we will brief you on the latest negotiations with Pakistan. It seems you're unwilling to let your followers carry through with your plan. Could it be that your resolve is less impressive than your threats? I will summon no judges until you go through the proper channels.
The summer for a while.
Did you think I'd be left behind? Did you not know I had to be part of whatever you were going to do?
Excuse me.
Did you come here to laugh at us? If so, do it and be done. We've lost everything.
That was not my purpose.
What do you want?
I want to give you something.
What?
Justice.
You suffered too much for justice to be done.
A little portion of justice, then?
Who are you to give us what the President has just denied us?
I am a magistrate of the High Court. My office is just down that corridor. When I saw the President pass my door in a hurry, I decided to follow her and see what was going on. I heard what you said.
Then you heard her say that she will not bring a judge to hear us.
I heard her say that she will summon no judge. That does not mean that no judge will have an interest in what you have to say.
You would defy the President.
I answer to a different master.
Who would that be?
The gods, my conscience, call what you will.
You will hear us?
In my courtroom, starting tomorrow, bring your brothers and sisters. We'll hear them all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And so Mr. Master had occasion to call upon the only alive to stay steadfast throughout his audience. Yours truly, Vijay Gupta. Barrister.
Mr. Gupta, we've been granted a hearing.
By whom?
By a magistrate of the High Court.
And he will listen?
Well, that's what he says. I think he meant it.
A judge who will actually listen? I did not think that I would live to see such a day. It took several weeks. Dharmati Samaku's case was the first one heard. Mr. Master's case was the last. Your Honor, we have summoned witnesses. We have produced documents before this tribunal. The most compelling evidence is a man before you in this courtroom. Gopal Master stands in front of you, breathing the same air as the rest of us. The same blood courses through his veins, pumped by a heart which beats the same for him as it does for all of us on this side of death. Life and truth go hand in hand. For what is truth if there is no one to bear witness? Gopal Master had already borne witness to our greed, our negligence, our credit. Let him see that we can still recognize the truth when it stares us in the face.
After hearing all witnesses, we conclude that the death certificate issued to Mr. Gopal Masra is null and void. The court directs the Lekpal of Bisgurti to void all conveyances of property formerly held in his name and executed after the issuance of the death certificate, and to issue him a new identity card. A criminal investigation of all parties concerned with this fraud will be conducted. We are sorry for your travels, sir.
He listened. It's a miracle. I would not have believed it had I not been here to see it with my own eyes. When Mr. Masra finally walked down the steps of Rashtrapati Bhavan, a national court was convened. It traveled the length of the country, seeking out the living dead who had dispersed after the campaign in Delhi. As he left the building, holding a copy of the Commission's decree, Mrs. Samapur was waiting for him.
You won, Mr. Master. You won on behalf of everyone.
Yes, we won.
Well, how do you feel?
It's, good.
What's wrong?
I thought it would be different. I thought something inside me would change.
But it hasn't?
No. I wish it had. It's just a piece of paper.
I know what you must do. You must go home, you must take the decree with you, and you must show them you have beaten them. You must see the looks on their faces.
All right. Let's go.
And so the two of them traveled on, hundreds of miles, back to Biscuti, never touching, never saying many words, letting the silence speak for itself. When they reached at the crossroads, just outside the town, the constable's dog was at his usual post.
Be careful.
He looks harmless.
The last time I saw him, he nearly ripped my throat out.
What's his name?
Moti.
Mutti. Mutti, come here, good dog.
And then, a strange thing happened. The dog went past Mrs. Samapu, and with his tail between his legs, went straight to Mr. Master.
Moti? You recognize me?
He looks like he wants his belly rubbed.
As Mr. Master gingerly complied with this unspoken, but nonetheless urgent request, a merchant came up the road.
Sir, would you like to buy some goat milk?
Excuse me?
Goat milk, it's fresh.
You spoke to me?
But of course, sir. Is there any reason why I shouldn't?
No. I'll take some of that now.
Mrs. Samapu waited for him. The sun beat on their faces. Mr. Master took Mrs. Samapu's hands in his own, and each felt the touch of father's living skin for the first time. And because they had suffered together, because they had been beyond the boundaries where most of us would ever travel, because they loved each other, and nothing could touch their happiness at that moment, because nothing else would be adequate. They danced to their reward. existence of the living dead. What they ask is you look them in the eye. Everything else flows from that.